still watching the AM show, and yesterday we promised to get you an interview with the General Secretary of the Christian Council of Ghana, Reverend Kwabena Opuni on what Christmas means to him as a pastor and how the church can deal with the bad things that characterize the event.
Well, it's that time of the year. We know that we're running to a close, but we have to do a lot of recap. And one person who has been very instrumental and contributing to the AM show is Reverend Dr. Opuni Frimpong. Well, for all the things that we have to talk about, we also know that he is a General Secretary for the Christian Council of Ghana. We're here in his a small office somewhere at Kuntunse, close to Accra, where he has his small Presbyterian church is managing. But we're here to do a recap of all the issues that have transpired in our country, and then as a Christian Council, some of their own thoughts on many issues bordering on the socio-economic development of our country. And I have to say, good morning to you, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Ron. Let me say greetings to our cherished viewers.
And Merry Christmas to you, sir.
Hope that the coming years will be exciting.
Okay. But we know that it's been a year in which we saw a transition. And since 2000, we've always been on edge when there are transitions from one elected political party and its leader onto the next. And we were also on knife edge the same time, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, you are right. Roland, our part of the world, maybe because of issue of cheating and violence, when we are close to election, the atmosphere tend to be full of fear and some level of tension. And last year's election wasn't different, especially last year as in 2016, especially when we were having a scene that a sitting president belonging to, say, NDC was about to hand over to MPP presidential candidate. But as a country, we did very well. We did very well with the former president, the various political parties, our media, and everybody, that the transition was very peaceful. Very peaceful. I mean, we may have one little things here and there, but on the whole, as a country, we've done very well. But moving forward, what should 2016 and then the handing over 2017, what should we learn from it? Should we always be going through the moment of tension and violence and all that, knowing that it is possible for Ghana to go through the same process and even end in such a peaceful manner transition? And that is what especially the two leading political parties, all of them do, but the two leading political parties must prove to us that they are learning something. That it should not always be like that close to election, because we must get to a point and that certain things must be behind us. And one of the things we pray and hope that moving forward 2020 and beyond, these tense atmosphere, tension during election, the political parties, especially the leading two, must find a way of reducing that for the sake of the ordinary Ghanaian.
At the end of the day, we've been able to do the transition, and as you said, as peaceful as it was, it also means that, the government had a responsibility to put the economy on track based on what the economic indicators were, but they've been good so far. And what would you say have been your own general observations? Perhaps also the feedback you get from your congregants and those you tend to interact with, and the general Ghanaian that you will averagely meet on the street about how well we could do as a nation and how well they are also doing as a people economically.
Yeah, Roland, the Christian Council of Ghana has functioned one as institution of calm. So these peace things matter a lot to us. Then we have also been a social observer. And therefore we do observe things and then share our thoughts like you just raised. One, the current administration, especially during the campaign, it seems to me succeeded in raising expectations for young people, expectation for workers, expectation for education, expectation for health, expectation for utilities, and even some of their own young people, call them whoever, who have been running errands for them, Vigilante group, whatever they at the moment, it seems to me one of the challenges that the current administration must handle very well to sustain public confidence has something to do with managing expectations. Managing expectations, because they have succeeded in raising the expectation of people, including their own members. And sometimes when you see what the vigilante groups and others were doing, it suggests to you that we have work to do. Again, they have been able to raise expectation in area of education, free SHS, which is wonderful. And everybody is looking forward to its future. Hard work moving forward. We have seen government willingness to spend money. We will do this. It's free. In fact, it's not only free HSS. Colleges of education, students who are not having the allowances, nurses and all that. Now we will pay, and we are paying. What we haven't heard is how, as a nation, are we going to mobilize adequate domestic resources for this national development program. I mean, one factory, one for every district, farming, almost every sector. Wonderful. But this attention must be paid to mobilization of domestic resources. I say this because on the other side, you hear our leaders saying that we are building Ghana beyond aid, which is an excellent idea, building our national sovereignty and all that. But every Ghanaian must be prepared to understand our role in this bigger picture, and that has not been done. Government is doing very well with this environmental challenge, water body challenge, whether you call it galamsey, whatever. So far it's been wonderful. That minister may, for us, maybe be even the best minister this year. But again, how do we sustain it? Because sometimes you get impression that some big wigs, heavyweights, are involved, and could be party people, party financiers, we don't know, traditional leaders. And they gave this sanction 3 months now, 6 months, but people are still doing it. And it tells you that the people behind it are not just small boys. People who can defy with all the vigilante army group they've sent out there. You still find people doing this. So I would say on the whole, 1 year in administration, there have been some positive things. They all come to raising expectations. Some of the expectations were raised during the campaign. Some have been sustained during the 1 year, but we ask ourselves moving forward, especially the resources to sustain the expectation. And we feel that a program must be somewhere convincing every Ghanaian and challenging us that we need to mobilize adequate domestic resources for all this program for national development.
If you take a critical look at some of the perhaps the vigilante activities, or so-called the vigilante groups, so I would call them they're more like hooligans in many respects, because they tend to defy their party structures and the orders that are given even by the president, etc. But if you do a cursory look at activities in our political landscape, you find that these groups are also dotted across the parties, if not the two main parties. How come these groups have become a force, and what can we do as parties and as a people to perhaps cool heads, ameliorate their influence, so to speak?
Roland, we need to build public confidence in our institutions, and it's across board. The police service, the military, everybody. Ordinary Ghanaians should be able to trust that institutions that have been set up to do X, Y, Z, I can go to bed, they will work. Now, these vigilante groups, it's not like a young man will rise up one morning and say, I'm going to have a vigilante group. They are being mobilized by the political parties. Initially, they are the people who run errands for them, campaign time, go and arrange chairs. But they go beyond that. Especially political parties members who normally are not on the ruling government side, those on the minority or the opposition, are not, and it happens to all, it depends on who is in power, who is in opposition. If NDC is in opposition, they are not sure that the security agencies will take care of them. Same when MPP is in opposition, they weren't sure. At least we had an instance where some people threw stones, whether who did it, but at least stones were thrown to the resident of Nana Akufo-Addo. Now, how do you even drive through in front of his facility? You can. But when he was, a leader in the MPP opposition party, somebody had the audacity even to throw stones, you see. Now that is the challenge. So it's like, sometimes our institutions have favorite sons and daughters depending on who is giving the instruction. And that is what gives space for these vigilante groups to survive. Because it's like I'm dealing with my insecurity, and if I can't trust the public institutions to protect me during our rallies, others can jump and do whatever they want to do, then we must manage and protect ourselves. Then they go beyond these vigilante groups being mobilization tools, now playing security functions. So now they arm them. So they go and they call them my boys. They drive around them. They rally around them, and if you dare, they'll beat you. Sometimes they can even dare the former regular police institution. So moving forward on this vigilante, the issue is let's build public confidence in our national institution, especially the security services. And sometimes you get impression, especially the police, that when this group is in power, they do nice things with that group, and then the other complains. Tomorrow morning when the tables change, then the complaint also change. Until we respond to that, we have a long way to go managing this. And they must also be very careful the kind of promises they give to these young people. It's like when we come to power, you have access to a toll booth, you have access to this, you'll be unemployed, oh, you get this, we'll change your car. When they come on to power, they've seen the leaders whose cars have been changed, their lifestyle has been changed. Some of them start changing even their numbers, mobile phone numbers. You call them, you can't get them. So now these young people feel, hey, Charlie, let us be smart, so I'll get our share. So they must also manage the expectation that they've given to such dedicated followers.
And I read there's a recent UN report that's indicating that the ratio of people who have been trained in the private sector versus those in regular security of the state is a worry. Just in case because the ratio is we have 450,000 private security and other forms of law enforcement privately, of course licensed by the state. But then the state's regular police has only 33,000 people. And even if we have the others from the other security service, we'll still not be able to show up the numbers to me. And for a sub-region of West Africa, where conflict is ripping apart many countries, we should be worried, shouldn't we? We should,
Roland, we should. I mean, we must learn from the sub-region and even beyond. I mean, we have Ivory Coast around, we have Nigeria. The security people, it's not like you go to the street and you pick innocent young person and say, they train them. And the kind of training, it depends on where they send them. There are people who employ these people, I mean security companies, who have all manner of gadgets. Could be Lances one, guns, lances, and all that, for people to use to protect them. They train them, security network, how do you track people and all that. They are not just innocent, green mind people sort of. They are trained, And now we are increasing everyday security companies everywhere. Some are into the mining companies, some are into factories, some are into everywhere, banking institutions, everywhere. And they are trained. They are trained in intelligent gathering and all that. And it's all back to the issue I raised. People should be able, because there are institutions that are prepared to pay these security companies. How come they can't pay Ghana Police Service and others for them to take these security jobs? How come that people in institutions are prepared to pay private security companies, but not bodies like Ghana Police? I don't have the answer, but we must be worried the amount of intelligent knowledge in the system. Because now such people, when the police are coming, they also know what to do. And especially when they exit. When they exit the security companies, the amount of knowledge and experience and, intelligent tracking and other things they go with, it makes it more difficult when they start mobilizing to attack anybody. It makes it difficult. And as a country, we must direct attention to state institutions. People should be able to go to Ghana Police Service, banks and all that, and to employ. I don't know if that would be possible, but I don't see why it shouldn't be possible, so that we don't increase security companies, because the more we do that, we must know its implication in the near future. It's very worrying.
But then we saw the start of the budget being announced in March, and there were a lot of cuts were told in taxes. It depends on which area you wanted to look at, because the promises were that petroleum prices were high, and now they will be reduced. Of course, we all know what the verdicts are. But one thing that parents had been happy about was the implementation of the free SHS policy. Back in March, we were told start in September, and in earnest for the new academic school year started for the first years and its implementation. On the side of parents and the voting public or the general public, there's a lot of excitement. Within the period, the Christian Council and indeed various teacher associations within the various sectors had raised concerns. Some parents, it depends on which category or level of economic segmentation they were, had raised concerns. But generally, what would be the observation on it in terms of how it's been implemented?
Now, first, we, on behalf of Christian Council of Ghana, we want to commend government for the consistency that they've shown in this free SHS. He said it in opposition, not last year's election, but even previous that he lost. And when he came to power, at least you've seen the consistency to the point that, as you said, the program has been rolled, and we commend them for that. But we have called for consensus building among stakeholders, all those who are into educational management, PTAs, all student associations, traditional leaders, religious leaders. Over the years, all these groups have been key participants, active participants in educational management in this country. I mean, Infansipim is Infansipim, not just because of how much money government sent to Infansipim, but among other things, PTAs and old boys have supplemented. And all, Ebri girls, Wesley girls, Opoku, Prempe, St. Augustine, any nice school in this country, yes, government resources, but PTAs and old boys and religious leaders, traditional leaders have all. Now, why we admire what is happening, that the program has been rolled, sometimes we get the impression that all the things that old boys and these people have been doing will be factored into. Another time, it's like it's optional. If you are a parent and you want to pay something, pay. If you don't want to pay, so be it, you can't force. Now, that side of it, because, I mean, we are talking about managing an institution. You see, and if you tell me, and I have your child in my school, if you want to pay, pay. If you don't want to pay, pay. Over the years, if a school wants to say add to the feeding of the children, if they want to give 1 egg a week, it's for everybody. If they want to have extra classes for students when they know they are not able to complete the syllabus, it's across board. Or after they've received their results, PTAs and all students come and come kind of accountability. Headmaster, headmistress, why are students not doing well mathematics? Why are they not doing, and some would demand a change biology. We are prepared to even pay more for biology classes so that next academic year we will do better. We find this behind the scene over the years. We still believe that it's not too late. Government must still get other stakeholders in education on board in managing our schools, especially in running the free SHS. It's wonderful, but its sustenance may need other bodies. Again, it must be depoliticized. We know it was a key issue in MPP manifesto, but it must cease, or it must flow from a political idea to become a national idea and stay there and get everybody on board. so that we will not have any worry or fear, doubt that, oh, one day if MPP is not there, we will go back.
How do we build that consensus? Because if you take perhaps maybe the other side of the political divide, there seems to be this misgiving. And it's not only the one side of the political divide. It looks like across the board of the political parties, you get to find mixed messages of whether being receptive or perhaps having some mixed feelings about its implementation. How do we get the buy-in across board?
You see, Roland, one area that we must depoliticize in this country is education. Education to me has suffered in this country due to the politicization, in fact sometimes over politicization. We had these 3 years, 4 years, that has become a party, although we don't know moving forward what MPP will do. But if it's MPP, you know it's 4 years. If it's NDC, it's 3 years. We have done that over the years. And now, at free SHS, if we want to let this be a national agenda, it's possible. It's possible. If the leaders, we know as they succeed, they want to take credit. And that is where the problem will come, because you bring all of us on board and then you succeed and then you use it for the next campaign that we have succeeded. These people, they can't do. Then the others will feel that, But if we want to get to a point that this is good for us moving forward, it's good for us, whether NDC is good for us, CPP is good for us, then let us have bodies, those who are educational managers, handle the thing. But if we let the thing be a political thing, then you hear ministers and others giving orders and all that and fighting everybody. Then others will feel that we must go a bit backwards. We feel that the independent educational bodies in this country must be given space to manage education in this country.
What have been some of the things that have come to your notice as Christian Council within the school, which have been instances or scenarios which point to concerns that should be raised, and then also perhaps a better addressed? Maybe whether they are food supplies or maybe peculiar daily teaching, teething problems, or maybe accommodation issues.
We have not done a very serious detail about means we will do that from our schools. That's a point. Normally when we meet in our annual general meetings, some call it conferences, some call it annual general meeting and all that, our various headmasters, I'm talking about schools, mission schools, they report. And that will happen in August next year. So the various headmasters and headmistresses likely will report. But as a social observer, one, we have observed from some of the schools that in the afternoon, knowing that due to time constraint, some of the schools in the afternoon have extra classes for the children. Now, because Form 2s and Form 3s have paid, and that had not been part of Form 1, it seems to me that I may be wrong. Now, some of the schools in the afternoon, Form 2, Form 3s, have extra classes. Form 1 will remain in classroom very quiet to do their independent prep, as they call it.
So the notion is that what? Because they haven't paid?
We will get the full picture, but maybe because they haven't paid. And seriously, such monies are not part of the free SHS. These are monies that PTAs pay, and these are monies that we've been told if you're a parent and you want to pay, pay. If you don't want to pay. But you get schools that if they find physics is not good, PTAs are prepared to pay, so there are afternoon preps that teachers handle that. We are getting signal of such challenge. You get a challenge of overcrowding, even though you listen to them say, oh, no. Even previous years, they have been calling for 500 students. We gave them 480. But there are also instances through our media friends. This is not a report we have received from our headmasters and headmistresses, but media have given us pictures of schools that have
been reported across.
Yes. And sometimes the headmasters think that in their own small way they can manage it. Then you hear on air, this person has been suspended. This person has been, and it's not like we are accusing them that they have stolen monies. The person is managing a crisis situation. And then they come and announce he's been dismissed, sometimes we feel that we'll give them time. I mean, this country, we find instances that people have engaged in all corrupt practices, but we spend time probing, investigating. We hear one headmistress have asked students to pay money for chairs, for bed, and then on air, he's been dismissed. How much even they raise, So we get that feeling that we have a challenge. And at least those who are helping to manage the challenge, instead of always seeing them as saboteurs, they are against it, we must be tolerant enough so that together with others who are also key stakeholders, we will move the program forward. So this idea of dismissing people, suspending people, and this idea that everything is free. Prempeh College is Prempeh College. Mfansipim is Mfansipim. Not because everything is free. Parents have made commitment. Even if government is going to support, we must find a way to sustain the standard that these schools have maintained over the years.
And we hope that at least that could be improved. But if that should be the case, what roles can the PTAs play? And then also the churches that originally owned the schools, and even communities and traditional leaders who we know have also played critical roles over the period. More so, how do we talk about the funding aspect? Because if you look at concerns expressed by Imani, other civil society groups, etc., even NAGRAD and NAT, etc., you get to find that the few funding is a difficulty.
Roland, we should not assume results. We must work towards it. We must plan towards it. Somebody must bring all key stakeholders in education together to answer this question. We've done it before. It's not like this is the first time we are getting the stakeholders you have just raised. PTAs in almost every school over the years have been willing to support. All student associations. I chair Prempeh College board for 4 years. All student association built, they call it clinic, I consider it to be a hospital. And then the PTA accepted that we will run it. You see the partnership. We've done it before. And yes, even though we are rolling a wonderful social intervention program, we must also know, we know our strength, our national economy and everything. So we must give space. Now you hear government saying that let us get people who want to support. But how do we even maintain those who have been supporting over the years before we look for new ones? There must be a roundtable conference asking PTAs, Old Boys Association, community leaders, traditional leaders, religious leaders, and we'll still plead with the current administration. The free SHS idea is a wonderful idea, but it must be a collective responsibility. Everybody must be on board for us to sustain this. And it should not be difficult for government at all to bring other people, including even parties that are in minority, that are in opposition. We must succeed in this free SHS, not as a political party, but as a nation.
Would you? There had been calls. Kofi Bentil of Imani, we have a number of personalities and organizations that had said perhaps maybe we should increase VAT, etc. I don't know whether it's it's an idea that we can entertain if the dialogue is right.
If somebody will create space for dialogue, all these issues, it should not be done in isolation, But we need a kind of bring all the stakeholders in educational management on board. Let's do it. We are doing it for our children. We are doing it for our future. We should never get to a point that for whatever good reason, we are not able to sustain free SHS. But that would depend on the current administration's preparedness to get other people on board.
Just recently, the president had an interview, an interaction with Al Jazeera, and he was asked a question relating to his government's perhaps position on homosexuality. It's become a topical issue these days, perhaps not in the developed countries, but in the developing countries, because they have moved on. I'm talking about the West and the rest of the Americas. His comments has not been taken lightly across the board in the Ghanaian public. He's been criticized, some to say that, well, he was just being politically right, and that was all he could have said. The Christian Council of Ghana, other Christian groups, even civil society groups have made some serious comments on this. The general society still has a perspective and then a right to question the president when he makes some of those pronouncements. Yes.
Now, let me say that we call for further, when we heard the president on this, that maybe we weren't clear what he was saying. The Minister of Information and recently Eastern Regional Minister and one or two have come out that it will never happen. In fact, the majority leader had even said that no political party in this country can even win election by endorsing this. So now, after the president's interview with Al Jazeera, we are getting signal that that is not what he intended to say, that he was going to legalize it. But having said that, we would have been more comfortable if the president had stopped when he said that issues that are important to Ghanaians today, among them is not same-sex unions, homosexuality, maybe free SHS, bread and butter issues. There are real human rights issues, women going to, they show us your media house, Confanoche, how many children averagely die every day in a teaching hospital like Confanoche, and may not be different from Kolebu and others. These are the real issues for us. If it had stopped there, would have been more comfortable. It is when he added that if it happens that pressure is mounted on us like it happened in other Western countries, then it is bound to happen. Now that word is what created problem and challenges for us and make us very uncomfortable. But like I said, they have come out, his Minister of Information, that no, he didn't mean that he's going to do it. If even he's not going to do it, we have observed that our laws are very weak. We don't have strong, marriage on this same sex, and we have called, in fact, the Muslim Council, the Office of National Chief Imam, and some traditional leaders, and we are together in this. We started some networking that we may need to strengthen our laws when it comes to marriages, because it's like some loopholes here and there. You hear that as at now, our laws don't have problem for lesbians and all that. But Roland, this country must know now. Even U.S. want to have, or is going to have, is a capital in Jerusalem, and we, Ghana, voted against it at the United Nations. Let us sustain that. Our leaders, our president, must sustain that. And when it came to same-sex, even though Canada will do it, US will do it, Britain will do it, Denmark will do it, all our donor partners will do it, we will not do it. If we can vote against US on this Jerusalem matter, then we should be prepared that even all those who want to do what. But I think civil society group, traditional leaders, Christian lawyers, Christian business people, we are not saying that people are not doing that. What people do in their bedroom, but legalizing it, using state resources to support same-sex marriage, it should never happen in this country. Marriage is for procreation. We should never work towards extinction, that we get our children into marriage knowing that my son is into marriage with another man, he's not bringing me children. My daughter should not get into marriage with another woman knowing she's not bringing me children. Ghana must encourage marriages that facilitate procreation. Else, where people say that they will adopt. Now, if you live in a family and the people in the family are adopted people, you have ceased to exist. Some people have taken over your life.
Let me ask you, if you were preaching in the U.S., what would have been your position?
In U.S., in fact, we should not give impression that every church, everybody in U.S. approve. It's not true. At least we had a magistrate, a lady who said, I won't marry you. Yeah, he was sent to court, but he was ready to do that. I know Christians. I have pastored a church, a Presbyterian church in Richmond, in the US before. I know church members who, when a pastor, Virginia, a pastor who is a same-sex person, even offers communion, that they won't go. So the way we do it, we must not do it, even though now it has entered into their law books. You know, it is not true that everybody and every pastor and every church member endorses it. I believe that now those who have formalized it in their national laws constitution is people's right. We don't have it here, but the church should not stop preaching procreation. And the moment you preach procreation, that marriage is for procreation, then you must have a system that can make it possible. Same-sex unions don't make procreation possible.
Well, somebody will say, ultimately, it will catch up with us, and that these comments are just controversial in the making. But is it a reflection of what our society is?
How come that some countries like Ghana could vote against US on Jerusalem? Now that issue is a thorny issue. But a country like Ghana, if we're able to do it, why is US and all those human rights groups not discussing same-sex union with Saudi Arabia? Why are they not doing it? Why Ghana? And you see, they push colonialism on us. They put slave trade on us. We should be able to decipher that this will do for our good, this will not work for us. And we must get our young people ready that today, that's what US want to, the direction they want to go. Allow them. One day, you get your children, they may get to a point, they will not have children. We will have children. Let them come and adopt us. We'll go and take over their country.
Well, thank you very much. And that's been a recap of what the year has been, just in a short moment, with the Reverend Dr. Opuni, Kwabena Opuni Frimpong. And we've been discussing many issues, and we hope that you've enjoyed the discussions. We know it's a period of the Yuletide towards the beginning of the next year, 2018. We hold better prospects for all of us, and our hope and our wishes are also the same. But that's been our discussion with the General Secretary of the Christian Council of Ghana.